We've all seen nature documentaries showing how elephants follow their matriarchs, how wolves move in tight packs led by an alpha, and how lion prides depend on teamwork to survive. Every one of these animals has a social order, a structure that decides who leads and who follows. But what about dinosaurs? For over 150 million years, they ruled the planet. Were they just mindless giants fighting to survive? Or did they have organized societies of their own? Evidence for group living. When paleontologists first started finding large collections of dinosaur fossils buried together with what they call bone beds, it changed the way we thought about these animals. These sites weren't just a few skeletons lying side by side. Some contained dozens, even hundreds of individuals, from tiny juveniles to full-grown adults. At first, scientists thought maybe a flood or volcanic eruption swept them together after death. But the more they studied these sites, the clearer it became that these dinosaurs didn't just die together. They lived together. One of the most famous examples comes from Montana. In the 1970s, researchers uncovered an enormous site filled with the remains of a single species, the Maiasaura, or good mother lizard. Hundreds of individuals were found in one place, adults, young adults, and even hatchlings, all preserved in the same layer of rock. Maiasaura lived in large herds, much like elephants do today. The adults worked together to raise their young and keep them safe. In fact, fossilized nests showed that Maiasaura parents would return to the same nesting grounds year after year, rebuilding their nests in the exact same area, like a neighborhood that never stopped growing. Each nest held around 30 to 40 eggs, and every nest was carefully spaced about 7 meters apart. That's roughly the distance an adult Maiasaura could cover with one tail swing. This distance is close enough for protection, far enough to avoid damaging the neighbors' nests. That kind of spacing isn't random. It suggests planning, communication, and organization. And if the Montana discovery wasn't enough, even some meat-eating dinosaurs show evidence of social behavior. Monolophosaurus jongi, the single-crested lizard that roamed Asia some 170 million years ago, is one such example. Its distinctive bone crest may have acted as a visual signal to attract mates, or even to amplify vocal calls, hinting at a level of social communication previously unthinkable for predators. In Antarctica, another species with a striking crest and facial ornaments likely used these features for courtship displays rather than combat. These delicate structures suggest that even in the icy Jurassic South, social signaling played a vital role in survival and reproduction. Then there's Dilophosaurus, famous for its twin head crests, which are probably tools for species recognition or mating displays. The discovery of 3 individuals fossilized together suggests small group living. This shows that even among predatory dinosaurs, social structures and communication features were emerging. These weren't just cold-blooded killers, they were complex animals capable of interaction, display, and cooperation. And that discovery shattered the built to purely kill stereotype we've always had about this species of animal. For years, dinosaurs were seen as solitary brutes, predators and prey fighting their way through a brutal world. But these fossils prove that at least some species lived with care, order, and cooperation. These weren't random groupings. This was organized social behavior millions of years before humans ever dreamed of forming communities. Why form herds? So why did dinosaurs form herds at all? The reasons weren't that different from animals we see today. The first reason is protection. Predators like Tyrannosaurus and Albertosaurus were always hunting. For large herbivores, sticking together meant having more eyes watching for danger. And if an attack came, the young and weak could stay near the center while the stronger adults formed a living wall around them. This defensive behavior isn't unique to mammals. It's a strategy seen across nature. From fish swimming in schools to birds flying in flocks, there's safety in numbers. Dinosaurs clearly understood that instinct long before we did. The second reason is foraging efficiency. Moving in groups allowed dinosaurs to cover more ground, discover food sources faster, and share what they learned. Imagine hundreds of herbivores traveling together across a prehistoric plain. If one part of the group found fresh vegetation, the rest would follow. It was a system built on survival through cooperation. And finally, the third reason is parental care. Most dinosaurs laid eggs and left them behind, but species like Maiasaura were different. They watched over their nests, cared for their hatchlings, and even brought food back to them. That's extraordinary for reptiles, and it shows a level of social awareness that scientists never expected to see in creatures this old. With nearly 90% of juveniles dying before adulthood, every bit of care made a difference. Living in groups gave the next generation a better chance to survive predators, hunger, and the harsh prehistoric climate. So when we look at these fossils, bone beds, footprints, and nests, they all point to one truth. Dinosaurs weren't just surviving on instinct. They were surviving through cooperation. Their world wasn't built on strength alone, it was built on connection. And that's what made the herd unstoppable. The controversial case of pack hunters, Section 2A, the setup. Movies like Jurassic Park made us believe raptors were the prehistoric version of wolves, brilliant coordinated hunters that stalked, strategized, and attacked in perfect sync. It's one of the most iconic images in dinosaur history. But here's the question. Was any of it actually true? Did raptors really hunt in organized packs? Or have we been chasing a Hollywood myth all along? To find out, we have to go back to the discovery that started this entire debate. Section 2B. The evidence for pack hunting. Ostrom proposed an extraordinary idea. Maybe they didn't hunt alone. Maybe, like wolves, they coordinated their attacks working as a team to bring down prey far larger than themselves. And once that idea took hold, it spread fast. Soon, the image of intelligent, coordinated raptors became cemented in pop culture. But scientists needed evidence. Decades later, researchers found it. A set of fossilized footprints belonging to 6 raptor-like dinosaurs, all moving in the same direction. The tracks were perfectly aligned step for step, as if the animals were walking together. To many, that looked like proof of a coordinated group, a dinosaur patrol on the move. And it didn't stop there. In Alberta, Canada, scientists uncovered an Albertosaurus bone bed containing the remains of at least 12 individuals, possibly more than 20, all found in the same location, the same layer, the same time period. That kind of clustering isn't random. So could these predatory dinosaurs have been living and hunting together? For a moment, the evidence seemed to say yes. It looked like pack hunting might have deep roots in dinosaur evolution. But then, more research came in, and suddenly, the picture started to blur. Section 2C, the counter-evidence. A more recent study looked not at bones, but at tooth chemistry, analyzing the isotopes trapped in the enamel of juvenile and adult Deinonychus. The results were surprising. Juveniles and adults had different isotopic signatures, meaning they ate different diets. That's not how true pack hunters work. In real pack systems like wolves or lions, the young eat the same prey the adults bring down. They share kills. They cooperate. But these raptors? They didn't. Each age group hunted or scavenged on its own, suggesting independence, not teamwork. And when we look at modern relatives of dinosaurs, birds, and crocodiles, the story gets even clearer. Neither group hunts cooperatively in the way wolves do. Birds may flock, and crocodiles may gather, but their hunts are competitive, not coordinated. So what if these dinosaur packs were more like mobs? Groups of individuals drawn to the same opportunity, not working as a team. That's where the Komodo dragon model comes in. Modern Komodo dragons don't coordinate attacks. They simply converge on a wounded or dying animal, sometimes attacking together, sometimes turning on each other the moment food hits the ground. It's chaotic, bloody, and effective, but it's not cooperative. And that might have been what we were seeing in those fossil sites. Not teams, but feeding frenzies. Multiple predators drawn to one large prey item, fighting over the spoils. This shows that the raptors were opportunists, intelligent, fast, and vicious, but not the wolf-like hunters we imagined. When you put all the evidence together, the fossil bone beds, the trackways, the chemical analysis, one truth starts to emerge. Dinosaurs like Deinonychus and Albertosaurus probably did form groups, but those groups weren't built on loyalty or shared tactics. They were gatherings of convenience, predators coming together when the opportunity arose, then turning against each other the moment the meal was done. While Jurassic Park gave us the image of coordinated hunters with military precision, the real story might have been something in between. The evidence suggests something between solitary hunting and true pack behavior, more like modern crocodiles gathering at a kill than wolves executing coordinated attacks. And that perhaps makes them even more terrifying, not because they were organized, but because they were unpredictable. Tyrannosaur Family Drama Section 3A, The New Discovery. In 2014, deep in the red rock of southern Utah, paleontologists uncovered a fossil site now known as the Rainbows and Unicorns Quarry. Inside the quarry lay the remains of multiple tyrannosaurs, all belonging to a mid-sized species called Ceratopsian. But these predators hadn't died scattered across miles of ancient landscape. They were found together, side by side. Even fossilized footprints in British Columbia tell a similar story. 3 tyrannosaurs, all moving in the same direction at the same pace. To some researchers, it looked less like coincidence and more like a coordinated hunting party. At first, scientists were skeptical. After all, apex predators like these were supposed to be solitary, top-tier hunters who lived and died alone. Section 3B, What it reveals. But deeper analysis told another story. The quarry held bones from adults, subadults, and juveniles. That kind of diversity doesn't happen by accident. It suggests something remarkable. Tyrannosaurs may have lived in family groups contrary to the image scientists had regarding them. Maybe these apex predators weren't lone killers. Maybe they worked and even raised young in small, tight-knit units. Not exactly packs in the wolf sense, but more like complex social groups with shifting roles, rivalries, and power struggles. Section 3C, Social Conflicts and Hierarchies. Of course, social doesn't mean friendly. The bones tell a story of conflict. Many tyrannosaur skulls show deep facial bite marks, often healed over. These weren't fatal wounds, they were the scars of dominance battles. Fossil evidence shows that even young tyrannosaurs bore bite marks across their faces. This means that the struggle for dominance started early. Just like modern predators, tyrannosaurs may have used ritual combat to establish who was in charge, not to kill, but to command respect. Younger members may have learned to hunt by following the adults, while older juveniles challenged for dominance as they matured. It's a dynamic seen across nature. And when you step back, a new image of the tyrannosaurs begins to form, not as solitary monsters, but as complex, intelligent animals living in structured groups. But make no mistake, social never meant peaceful. These were predators driven by instinct, competition, and survival. Their world was as much about power and territory as it was about cooperation. Tyrannosaurs might have had families. They might even have hunted together. But they also fought, challenged, and dominated one another. Ceratopsian communities focus on horned dinosaurs. Ceratopsians, often called horned dinosaurs, were a diverse group of herbivores that lived throughout the Cretaceous period, which is from their late Jurassic origins in Asia, about 161 million years ago, to their extinction around 66 million years ago. Their name, from the Greek keras, horn, and ops, face, perfectly captures their most iconic features: sharp, toothless beaks, ornate frills that extended from the back of the skull, and in many species, impressive horns that crown their faces. When most people picture horned dinosaurs, they imagine massive battles, frills locked, horns clashing, dust flying. But for the Ceratopsians, those famous horns and frills meant something far deeper than combat. The evidence for community living. Fossilized bone beds offer compelling evidence that many ceratopsians lived not as loners, but as members of large, organized herds. In the Centrosauran subfamily, which includes Centrosaurus and Styracosaurus, massive bone beds from Alberta's Dinosaur Park Formation preserve hundreds of individuals of varying ages and sizes. Such sites paint a vivid picture of year-round herds composed of adults, subadults, and juveniles moving together across the floodplains. Some bone beds even suggest catastrophic stampedes, where herds may have perished en masse while fleeing predators or floods. Ceratopsians also shared their ecosystems with one another. In formations like Dinosaur Park, multiple species coexisted: Centrosaurus with its tall nasal horn and Chasmosaurus with its elongated brow horns, alongside hadrosaurs. Despite their shared habitats, these species appear to have avoided direct competition by occupying different ecological niches, feeding at different heights or in distinct environments. There's no clear evidence of mixed species herds or interbreeding. Instead, ceratopsians likely maintained separate social groups. For these giants, social living may have been a survival strategy. Moving in herds not only offered protection from pack-hunting tyrannosaurids, but may also have been energy efficient for large-bodied herbivores with slower metabolisms. Social structure and behavior. Paleontologist Scott D. Sampson has proposed that the ornate nasal and brow horns of centrosaurians, features that fully developed only in near adults, served as visual signals in mating and dominance displays, much like the horns and antlers of modern bison. Juveniles had small, rounded frills. Adults had towering, fully developed displays. That's a sign of age-based hierarchies where only the mature individuals held rank or mating privileges. Those horns weren't just weapons, they were symbols. Displays of strength, beauty, and dominance, much like the antlers of deer or the plumage of peacocks today. Many scientists now think the frills were brightly colored, used for sexual selection to attract mates, warn rivals, or even signal social rank within the herd. And when danger came, those same herds may have formed defensive circles, placing their young in the center, just like modern musk oxen do today. It's one of nature's oldest and most effective survival strategies. The key insight. So those elaborate horns and frills weren't just tools for fighting predators like T-Rex. They were status symbols, communication devices, and badges of identity within their own society. Ceratopsians were social creatures with hierarchies, bonds, and displays of power and pride, proof that even in the prehistoric world, beauty and status mattered just as much as survival. The weapons of social combat. Not all dinosaur battles were between predator and prey. Some of the fiercest fights were between each other. Ankylosaur tail clubs. In 2022, paleontologists studying Zool crurivastator, nicknamed the Destroyer of Shins, made a surprising discovery. Its fossil showed deep, healed injuries on both sides of the body, right where another ankylosaur's tail could have struck. But these weren't bite marks from predators. They were blunt force hits, delivered by another member of its own species. That pattern points to a kind of prehistoric combat fighting for territory, rivals, or mates. Just like bison lock horns or giraffes swing their necks, ankylosaurs likely clashed with their tails, testing strength and dominance. Stegosaurus thagomizer. The Stegosaurus carried another weapon of choice. Its thagomizer, 4 lethal pairs of tail spikes. They weren't just using it for defense. Fossil evidence of an Allosaurus vertebra found with puncture wounds perfectly matching Stegosaurus spikes tells us these tails were deadly accurate. But beyond predator defense, paleontologists think they also settled internal disputes, perhaps for dominance or mating rights. Each swing was more than survival. It was communication through combat. Parasaurolophus crests. Not every weapon was meant for fighting. Some were designed for sound. The long, hollow crest of Parasaurolophus acted as a built-in musical instrument, a resonating chamber that produced deep, low-frequency calls. Tests on 3D models show those sounds could carry over several kilometers, like a natural trumpet across the Cretaceous plains. Each dinosaur's crest shape was slightly different, meaning each had its own unique voice. These calls may have helped them recognize each other, maintain herd cohesion, or attract mates from afar. In a world filled with noise and danger, communication was survival. The hierarchy. Dinosaurs didn't exist only in random chaos. They followed rules and hierarchy just like the animal societies we know today. Hadrosaurs, cooperative colonies. Maiasaura, known as the Good Mother lizard, built massive nesting colonies, rows of nests spaced carefully apart. Adults guarded their young, bringing food and protection much like elephant herds do today. Ceratopsians, power through age and display. Horned dinosaurs like Triceratops and Centrosaurus lived in massive herds where rank likely depended on age and physical display. Youngsters had smaller frills and horns, while fully grown adults displayed large, colorful ones, signs of maturity and dominance. Tyrannosaurs, the family predators. For years, scientists thought tyrannosaurs were loners. But discoveries like the Rainbows and Unicorns Quarry in Utah revealed several skeletons of adults and juveniles buried together. That hints at coordinated living, possibly family groups that hunted or scavenged together. Evidence of facial bite marks even suggests internal dominance struggles, not unlike modern lions or wolves. Their lives may have been ruled by hierarchy, tolerance, and timed aggression. Sauropods, the marching giants. Even sauropods, the largest animals to ever walk the earth, showed traces of group structure. Trackways reveal migrations stretching for miles, with smaller footprints often in the center, young protected by older individuals on the outer edges. These patterns point to order, protection, leadership, and coordination, even among giants. The alpha myth. So did dinosaurs have alphas? Not exactly. Even in modern animals, alpha is an oversimplified term. It's better to say they had dominant individuals, breeding pairs, or matriarchs, depending on the species. Their social systems were complex, shifting with age, size, and circumstance. In the end, dominance was rarely about strength alone. It was about survival of the most adapted. What we still don't know, for all we've learned, much of dinosaur behavior remains hidden in stone. Because behavior doesn't fossilize, only traces do. The limits of fossil evidence. Finding dinosaurs together doesn't always mean they lived together. Floods, droughts, or disasters could bury animals side by side long after death. That's why every discovery must be read like a puzzle, piece by piece, context by context. Unanswered questions. Did juveniles form separate nursery herds? Were some herds seasonal, gathering only for migration or mating? How did dominance change with age or between species? These questions remain open, waiting for the next fossil to tell the story. New discoveries. Ahead. In 2025, researchers confirmed Nanotyrannus as a distinct species, not just a juvenile T-Rex. That finding alone reshaped how scientists understand Tyrannosaur family dynamics and competition. If one fossil can change everything we thought we knew, what will the next discovery reveal? For so long, we thought dinosaurs were just monsters, roaring, fighting, surviving, nothing more. But every fossil we've found tells a different story. A story of parents guarding their young, herds moving in sync, and creatures that formed bonds stronger than we ever imagined. These weren't mindless beasts. They were living, breathing societies, each one following rules that shaped their survival for millions of years. They protected their own. They fought for territory. They cared for their young. And in their own way, they understood something about life that we're still figuring out. That strength doesn't just come from power. It comes from connection. Every footprint, every nest, every scar in the rock is proof that even in a world ruled by giants, life was never truly alone. So what do you think? Were dinosaurs more social than we've ever imagined? Which behavior fascinates you the most? The herds, the rivalries, or the family bonds? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you love stories like this, Don't forget to hit subscribe, drop a like, and share this video with someone who still thinks dinosaurs were just cold-blooded monsters. Because the truth? They were so much more than that.